Hey everyone, happy Friday. Thanks for joining me already. Just please let me know if this sound is working. I had to jigger the computer and I'm not sure it's working anymore. So anywho, let me know on that. Thanks for joining me here this Friday. My name is Alyssa from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for beginners. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. So it's Oh, you hear on Facebook. Okay, Arlene, thank you. Having so many problems today, you guys. Okay, and it started with snow. We had like legit real, like an inch of snow on the ground when I woke up this morning. John looked out the window and said that there was snow on the trees, and I said, no, there's not. I did not believe him. I had to get up and look for myself. But all right, so you hear me fine. Thank you. That's great. Okay, so you guys, we are working on the Quilt As You Go project tonight. We got this row number 2 that we are going to just hand stitch the back bits on. So slow and steady tonight, just some hand stitching. So I think that'll be fun. So all right, Good Friday thing to do. All right, I'm gonna flip you guys around and let's get going. All right, so here we are. Okay, so we have been working on this ABC quilt along project, and ultimately we are making it into a quilt. So here is kind of the layout here. So we actually have the ABC stitched together. We just don't have these end guys on because I don't know what those are going to be yet. But we're doing the quilt as you go process, which means we're actually quilting our blocks prior to quilting them in a quilt. Like for example, like here's one of our blocks just like pre-quilted. So we've embroidered like what we did last night. We finished the letter R last night. Here's our letter R embroidery. And then we layer that embroidered piece with some batting and a backing fabric. And then we quilt it. So we're not quilting a whole quilt. We're just quilting like this tiny little piece, which is fabulous. It makes it so much easier to quilt. Oh, Patty, thank you. But yeah, so we're taking these smaller pieces that we've already quilted, and then we are assembling them. So these have been cut down a little bit. They're gonna end up as like 8-inch squares or 8.5 inch, I kind of forget. But then we are connecting all of them. So all these pre-quilted pieces, we are connecting them with some basically binding strips, and it'll look like sashing when we're done. So here's the front. This set of 3 is actually finished. So the front's attached, and then the back we actually hand stitch on. So the back also has those little sashing pieces. So we're basically covering up. We're basically trying to hide the raw edges of our quilting with some strips that we hide the edges with it. So that's what we're gonna be working on tonight some more. So here's row 2. Row 2, we actually have all of them. It's 5 letters. So the D, E, F, G, and H. Again, we've quilted all of them. And we've already assembled these, except for we have not done the final hand stitching. So you can see we have our sashing pieces on the front, but if we flip to the back, here's where you see the guts of it all. So you can see here's our raw edges of our quilted pieces with that sashing piece. So here's that sashing piece. We've just sewn these 2 pieces to the sashing. And now we got this raw edge here, these raw edges that we gotta deal with. So we've actually sewn an additional, like basically sashing piece that's the same size to the back during that process of sewing it all together. And we're gonna press this, and then we will tuck under the edge like so. And I'm gonna pin that in place, and then I will hand stitch all this. So it's a lot of hand stitching, but I kind of enjoy that. There's ways to machine stitch this too, but I like the look of hand stitching. It kind of hides that big long line of stitching it, of sewing it in place. But anyway, so that is the Quilt As You Go process. And we're just gonna chill today and work on some of this hand stitching part. I think I'm gonna start at this side here. I'm gonna just get, I have a clip here because I hand stitched this and I got pretty close to the edge and I'm afraid that I maybe cut that. So that's just for me to acknowledge, don't mess with that too much there. All right, so what I'm gonna do first, because I haven't pressed this at all yet, I'm gonna press, and I'm gonna do this one at a time. So I'm gonna press this back sashing over, and we're just gonna kind of get it flat. I want that scooched over as good as I can, pressed. Okay, so that's the first press. What we have to do now is flip the edge over. So we got a little bit of an edge here, just like a 1/4 of an inch that I'm gonna flip over. I'm gonna try and use my sewn line here. I got like one nice straight line here. That's from sewing the sashing to the front. I'm gonna use that as a guide because I'd like to basically line up with that and cover it up when I do the hand stitching. So we're gonna just get a little bit going here, like so. I'm gonna have to grab my little applique pins too as we do this, I think. So let's get that a little squish, and maybe I can go all the way down first before having to get the pins out. We'll see. Forget how we did this for the first one. I think I pressed a little and then pinned and pressed a little bit more and pinned, but we'll see. Let's do that much. So we're doing the quilt as you go process for another project too, but we're doing the back piece a little bit different this time. That for that other project, we actually doubled up, basically making almost like bias tape that's been folded in half, so that we don't have to flip this raw edge over. And I actually like this better. I like it because you're making the same size sashing piece as the front, and that just made it way easier. So I only have to think about one size to do. I'm not sure I pressed this great. I think some bits are a bit wider than others, but I think we'll be good. So okay, let's pin this down. This is kind of why I'm doing this one at a time, because it's too much to like press this under and have that for all of them all set up right away. How did I do this last time? I think I did it, yeah, like so. I'm gonna leave it flat here still. I don't think I need one right at the beginning. This is just to kind of, because it's already wanting to move around. This is just to kind of keep it in line. Yeah, Terry saying, hi everyone from snowy Minnesota. Yeah, I was saying earlier that we woke up to snow here in Minnesota. It's kind of shocking because literally 3 days ago it was 80 degrees out. John looked out the window and I was still sleeping and he's like, there's snow on the trees. I'm like, no, there's not. And he's like, yeah, there's really snow on the trees. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I thought he was thinking, maybe there's like a little frost, like it was a little cool and a little moisture. But no, it was real full on actual snow. So yeah, it was a little shock to the system for sure. Ooh, I kind of folded this guy a little high here, but I think he'll be fine. That's going to be cut off anyway, that edge. Okay. I don't need this guy anymore for now. All right, so we are all ready to hand stitch this first one down. I have it kind of patchwork, so there's some other colors flying around in here. Like here we're patchworking pieces together. So that might be. We'll have to stitch through more seam allowances there. All right, and I got Zeb here. He's my little needle holder. This is from Fish Museum and Circus on Etsy. Okay, here's the needle I like using. It is totally bent, but I love it. I think it's a size 11 straw needle or Milner's needle. They're extra long, which I love, and since it's size 11, like the bigger the needle number, the smaller the needle. It's kind of weird, but like, um, I believe it's a size 10 or 11, which makes it nice and skinny, which makes which allows it to go through fabric like this really easily. I got my orange thread here. I just really need enough to go across, so I don't need a ton. Amy's asking if it melted, if the snow melted right away. It stuck around for a little. I was a little surprised. Like it was at least here through noon, and it was still sort of like snowing here and there, like up until that point. So it was stickier than expected, which is kind of crazy. All right, I'm gonna start with a quilter's knot on the end. Just an easy way to tie a knot at the end. It was, I do have to admit, the snow was very, very pretty though. Because all our trees are like gorgeous, gorgeous colors right now in the neighborhood. And just the snow on top of all the colorful trees was just really kind of cool. All right, so I'm coming up through the batting and coming up through the fit in there a little bit, through the back fabric and our little stashing piece here, and I'm gonna go around that spot again. There we go. And I'm using, like I said, that line from sewing on the front stashing. There's that seam. I'm using that line as a guide. I kind of want to cover that up as I stitch. So if I have to push down a little bit more to get that involved, covered up than I am. So now I'm just going through the back. Like I'm going right in the same spot basically, but just in the back fabric, and then coming over like, yeah, a little more than 1/8 of an inch and coming up through the back fabric and the front fabric. That's our first stitch. And then basically in the same spot again, but just in the back fabric. So I'm like crossing over. So I'm just in the back fabric and then over and up again into the binding and the back fabric. And those are our little kind of invisible stitches. And I find this super duper relaxing. And that's why we're doing it today. Gotta get a little more comfortable here though. There we go. See how that goes. So I just gotta, since I'm holding like the fabric in half here like that, I just have to make sure that I'm not going all the way through. But I'm really not. I'm just trying to grab that back fabric. So I'm getting like maybe a little bit of batting and the back fabric. So we gotta do this for all of these little back pieces. So it's gonna be tedious, and when we have to go when we have to attach the rows together, not just the blocks, then we gotta do it for like a huge length. So it's almost like we have to do the binding, like a binding process times like, I don't know, 8 or something crazy. So it's a lot of hand stitching like this, and that's why, every once in a while we'll take a break from doing other stuff and just put some time into it. But again, I do kind of enjoy the process. So, and if we really, really get sick of doing this, we can do it on the machine. You will see a seam if I do that, but like I said, if we get sick of it, then I might not care anymore. And I don't know. I mean, we'll definitely get one of these done today. If we could get two, that'd be pretty awesome. I'm not really sure how many of these we can do in an evening. I think we've kind of only done these when we were finishing up another part of the process, and then just decided, we'll stitch for a little while. Amy says I like hand stitching. Me too. Unless there's like a time limit involved. I don't like crafting with a time agenda. Which, like, oh, the gift has to be done by the end of the weekend or something like that's scary. I mean, I do like to kind of, we got our lives here, so that's kind of keeping a schedule up for me, just so I'm still putting time into things, which is, I don't want to get going on these projects and then have them fizzle out. So I think I got a little piece folded over in here. Nope, we're good. We're just about halfway done with this one already, so I think we can get at least two done. We'll see. We have to do all the pressing for the next one, but we'll just go in order. So there's 5 letters in this row, so that means there's 4 connecting pieces. So this is one of 4, I guess. I had to take a couple pictures of the snow just to send to the fam. Yeah, we're cruising. Well, I think actually, I mean, this is basically just like sewing a binding on, and I think we were getting a couple feet of binding done when we were just working on like a binding for a quilt before. So, a couple feet, that's like 2 or 3 of these. Ooh, got a little loopy knot there. There we go. I can tuck these folds under a little bit more as I go. So it's kind of like needle turn applique too, that we've pre-turned by pressing it beforehand. Oh, Amy's asking, you don't use a thimble on your pushing finger this. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. For this, I don't, for like doing a binding and that sort of stuff, just because I feel like it's not needed. Like I think it's because I'm using this super thin needle. I don't feel like there's any real pressure having to push the needle through. So I kind of don't feel like I need it. If I was doing like hand quilting where I'm going in and out and I got like 4 stitches on here, then there would be a lot more resistance, and I think I definitely need the thimble at that point. I don't know, maybe if I was doing this all day, but I'm thinking other things might start hurting before my finger if I was doing this for a long time. Like I almost feel like I'm not even pressing. I mean, I am kind of pressing with this finger, but I'm almost just like holding the sides and pushing it through, just because it is gliding pretty easily with this thin sharp needle. All right, last pin. You're out of here. Like these pins are fatter. Like I feel like I almost need a thimble for those before the needle. Well, this did not take long at all, I don't think. I guess it is actually already 8:54, but I did some yammering and I started a little late. I was not sure my sound was working. Previously, like I have a new microphone set up, but I had to update the computer, and usually in the past, whenever I've updated the computer, the sound gets freaked out, and then I forgot like something turns off, and then I couldn't remember it was on, and I did a test, but I couldn't hear anything, but then I wasn't sure I was doing the test right, and so I'm glad it's working. I freaked myself out there. Get through there. So that was a little tougher right there because I'm going through a seam. Because this is where there's two different fabrics meeting, so there's a seam. All right, we're getting there. Ah, stabbed myself. So didn't we do like a knicker knot on these for like? How do we do that again? I think I have to go through first. I got way more thread than I needed for this. So knicker knot, we use it for English paper piecing, to tie like an extra knot at the end. I think I take this piece and I go around, and then I take this end coming out of the eye of the needle, and I go around behind the yeah, and we should, oh yeah, there we go. Now we're getting that like figure 8 looking knot. Yeah, okay, cool. Forgot about that. All right, and I'm just gonna like tuck in the thread like in between the batting here a little bit. Just come up the side. There we go, and we'll trim. And this might be a little bit short for another piece. It's a little bit of a waste of thread. I'll just get a smaller, shorter piece next time. But all right, first one done. So let's scooch everything out of the way. So this is the back all sealed up. So again, what our main goal here is we're hiding the raw edges of our pre-quilted blocks, right? Because we're doing that quilt as you go process where we actually quilt our blocks before finishing our whole quilt. So we're basically hiding the edges with sashing. So here's our first finished one. So here's the front. You know, looks like just a piece of sashing, and on the back we got a little thin piece of sashing. All right, here's our next one. I'm gonna get the pressing mat out again. So we've been working on the back here. So here's again the front row. We have D through H. So here's our pre-done. Like, I'm going to just show this again. So here's the raccoon that we finished last night. So this is just on the fabric. Then we take those and we pin it to our batting and a backing piece, and then we quilt it. So we sew it all together, and we're being a little decorative here and there with that. And then we are trimming down those quilted pieces, like we've already trimmed this, cut it down, and then we are sewing it together with these little sashing pieces. And again, the sashing pieces hide the raw edges from the quilt. So all right, let's keep going. And that's the quilt as you go process. It's just another way of quilting, and I think it's just great for making quilts where you're just on your home machine, and you don't want to drag a huge quilt through the sewing machine to try and quilt it when you're done. Because typically what you'll do is make the entire front of the quilt, which is large, like imagine making like a queen or king size quilt, and then you put a big back on it and a big piece of batting, and then you have to quilt it. But it's really difficult to get all that through your machine. So this is kind of like a fun alternative That makes it a wee bit easier. I like it because I can practice quilting just in general. I mean, I guess I'm not really practicing working on a really big piece or anything, but like I'm not getting practice in on doing a full quilt and maneuvering a quilt on a big machine or on a home machine, but a big quilt on a home machine. But I get to do the like more fun, playful quilting practice, which I like. I'm trying to do this all at once this time. Not sure this is a good idea. And I'm just tucking in that edge by about 1/4 of an inch. I'm using that sewn line from the front piece as my guide for where to turn it. But I was kind of wiggly with the last one, but I don't know, it's not looking bad. What's that? All right, so let's pin that in place and we'll get another one hand stitched tonight. Do you do the sashing the same on the front? Tracy's asking. So the sashing on the front is a little bit different. The size is the same in this case, but it gets sewn on. So we can kind of. I'll pin this and then I'll show it a little bit more. I just want to get this pinned before all my nice pressing goes away. Hold on. Right through the seam there. So we went through this process. I think we went through the whole process in the last video for this. So if you want like a more detailed look at how we did the front and the back, you can check out the video right before this one in shoot, lost one to the floor. Hold on. Pin. All right, I can't pick that up. I'm gonna have to get a magnet for that one. I better remember that it's there. But yeah, the YouTube video right before this one in the Quilt As You Go folder will go through that process a little bit more. But here, I'll show you right now though. So like for example, with this last one. So I start off by sewing a sashing piece to our first block, and I also sew the sashing piece to the back. So when we start out, I'll have this piece and 2 pieces like this, one on the front and one on the front here and then one in the back, and they'll look just the same. And then I press just the front one over. So now the front one is pressed in this direction and this back one just stays where it is. And then I sew the second piece, the second quilted piece, to our front sashing only. So just the front sashing. So at that point, our 2 pieces are connected to that sashing. And I've done that with the sewing machine. And then on the back, since we didn't flip that piece over, it's just hanging out here yet. But here you can see our sashing sewn onto our 2 pieces. And then we have our extra edges. And with Quilt As You Go, as far as I know, in this style of Quilt As You Go, you're always doing like a 1-inch sashing because you want your you want to do your 1/4-inch seam allowance and you want them to come and meet like this because then so it ends up being a 1/2 inch sashing when you're done, because then your entire sashing area or this entire area is still has batting in, right? Because it's only like it's the 2/4 inches put together. So it's still batted and everything. So that's why I'm always doing just the 1-inch piece. And so what we're doing now is we're taking that back piece finally, covering up those raw edges, and then hand stitching it down. So that's the process we're doing for this quilt. And this is tedious and all that, but I kind of like this part. But it would feel like extra super duper tedious if we were like saving all of this till the end. Or saving it all, we have to do all these little bits before we can sew the rows together, and it'd be a bummer to want to sew the rows together but not have done any of this back stitching yet, so we need to get an extra time here and there, like today. I'm getting a few of them done. Okay, let's start with our quilter's knot. I think we'll try and do that knicker knot again too. Why not? Okay. Situated. Drop my needle already. All right, these are not completely lined up with the front. I might actually do my knot a little further in. Let's go like right here. And I'll do a knicker knot. I just want to make sure that if I cut this off, like when we're sewing the rows together, that I do have a knot here. So I'm just gonna up in the same spot. And we'll wrap that from right to left. This part from left to right. All right. Nice little knot to get started. All right, now let's do it. I know I need a needle minder for the needle and pins. I should have like a separate needle minder for this project. I could. Actually, why don't before I do have an extra one here, before I forget about that needle on the floor or that pin on the floor. There we go. Got him. Yep, that'll feel safer. Congrats, Robin. That's amazing. Robin says she closed on her house today. That's amazing. Congrats. That's so good. That's gotta feel like a big check mark off the list. Oh, I knew that little purple dude down there clip was gonna be annoying. All right, I think we definitely cruise through this one, and we'll see where we're at. I think it might just be the 2. So we can say that in a casual hour of stitching, we can probably get 2 of these done, which means we'll need another hour to get the rest of this row done, but that's not so bad, I don't think. That guy out. And I don't want to like leave this half done, I don't think, for the next row. So I think after this one, we might just call it an evening, unless we have so much time left that it feels like we can get a whole nother one done. We are kind of cruising on this. We'll see. Maybe I'll start another one. Be nice to have it going. Oh, shoot. Needle pull the needle off. There we go. So this is where it's a little harder to stitch through because we have that seam. We're going through more fabric basically. But now we should be pretty much done with it. Oh, Robin says, I cannot wait to set up my craft room. Ugh, I bet. How fun. Oh, Amy says it's Colleen Riley Perez's birthday week. Happy birthday, Colleen. Not sure I saw him pop in today. Oh, oops, stabbed myself again. Cruising though. Being reckless and stabbing myself. I don't think I'm going all the way through to the front. Sometimes it feels like I'm a little deeper on here. Theoretically, if I'm going through the front, I'd see like tiny little stitches here. I wonder if I see any in this one. Nope. I think we're good. Definitely don't want to go through to the front. All right, let's get rid of that pin. Some of these stitches are maybe a little bit big. Oh, you guys, I said I watched the first Hocus Pocus, and I don't think, because everyone's talking about Hocus Pocus now because they just came out with the second Hocus Pocus like 29 years later. And so I'm like, I'm not sure I've ever seen it. So I watched the first one again, or I watched the first one, and I think I talked about it here last night. It was just, I don't know, like you had to grow up with it to have it be anything. I think, I don't know. I thought it was cringy, like the little kids half of it. Anywho, but people love it, I guess. But anyway, so I watched that last night, and then I watched. I stayed up and watched Hocus Pocus 2 when we were done with the live here, and I actually thought Hocus Pocus 2 was pretty cute and sweet. I mean, you definitely need to have watched the first one, and but if I'm comparing it straight to the first one, I thought it was a better movie. And I mean, as far as movies in general, like whatever. But like as a cute little sweet movie, I thought the second one was fun, especially after like immediately had just seeing the first one. I thought the second one was way better. But again, I'm not attached to the first one, so maybe people who are attached to the first one think otherwise. But anyway, there, check the thing off my list, I suppose. My non-list list. Oh yeah, the Hagrid from Harry Potter actor passed away today. I did see that, Amy. Yeah, I like him. Like the best character on those movies. All right. We'll get to the end here, and I think we'll call it like an early night tonight, an early Friday. So we got 2 done in this time, so that's not bad. But something that we'll have to keep in mind as we keep going here. Ooh, I definitely like holding like both layers folded better than just the one. Oh, that's why you're late. I was watching Hocus Pocus 1.0. Funny, Kathy. Yeah, it feels like one of those movies that, like, of course I watched that, right? But then as I'm watching it, the first one, I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen this. Like, I recognize a few things from there but just I think maybe from it being part of like culture and like quotes and that sort of thing. I think I might just know it from that and not from actually having seen it before. So, dang it, lost my needle again. Um, so so it was like seeing it fresh, I suppose. But yeah, had you ever seen it before, or were you watching it fresh, or were you just revisiting before watching the second one? Suppose I can say I watched it now. Oh, it's Kathy says the fresh first time. Yeah, I think it was for me too. I don't know. What did you think of it? I thought the first, like, it was just like cringy. I mean, the witches, all those characters, the actual famous people were fine. I guess those are the characters, these goofy witch people. But God, the kids storyline through the first one, I thought was so cliche in the sense of like they're trying to have it be like this adventure story, like they did well in the 80s, like Goonies and stuff like that. I thought they were trying to like get that vibe out of it, but like I don't know, it just didn't hit for me, I suppose. So I don't know. I thought the second one did a cuter job. So I don't know if you've watched that one yet. My guess is you'll be watching that next. But yeah, I watched them back to back, and I mean it is 29 years later, which is interesting in itself. Um, for that, but yeah, I don't know. I like the second one better, movie wise. Ooh, I need a little bit more thread than this next time. I just have barely enough to do this little knot. Oh, you're watching with your granddaughter. Oh, that's cute. Yeah, it definitely seems, I mean, it's definitely like to watch with like, I don't know, it's definitely like a kid's movie, I suppose. But not like a kids movie, like more of like what they wanted, like not 80s movies, kids movies when they're actually like scary. I mean, it was a 90s kids movie, I suppose. Kid adventure movie. All right. Oops, this way. Oh, funny, we started on this end. For some reason I thought we were starting on the other one. But anyway, there we go. We're in like reverse order on this. So we have the G, or like we have this one, this sashing, and this sashing complete. So here are the backs. That's what we hand stitched tonight, and we still have these other two to do. So we will we'll do that another time, I think, because I kind of don't want to like let them be half done with pins and stuff stuck in it, because I know I'm gonna just stab myself through this process, because I've been kind of moving these around and showing them and stuff. So I think we will just leave it. I kind of want to fold it up so we can see a guy on it. There we go. So we got two more done, two more sashing pieces done. So about an hour-ish, more like, I don't know, 45 minutes for two, 50 minutes for two. So something we'll keep in mind as we keep working on this. And again, here's that first row. We still need the end pieces, so we'll have to start thinking about what we want for those, I suppose. All right, we got a quilt going here, though. All right, you guys. I'm gonna flip you around here. All right, so that's where we are for tonight. I think we're putting in the time. to get this done. But I do like the hand stitching. It's coming together. We haven't done a big long row yet. I'm not sure we've done that on that other quilt either. So I haven't done the quilt as you go process for like a row together. So that'll be interesting once we get to that point. But that'll be a little while. We got to put at least a whole nother row together or get those corner pieces on, which we don't have. But anyway, so I'm going to have that special if you wanted to get a free mystery gift. Order $20 or more from thepenguinandfish.com. And I will throw in a free mystery gift for you if you watched live here tonight or for another like 15 minutes or so. So I'm going to chill for the rest of the evening, and I hope all of you have a lovely weekend, and I will see you again on Monday. We will be starting to stitch the granny square embroidery, so I think that'll be pretty fun as well. So all right, have a lovely evening, everyone. Good night.